All right, y'all. Welcome to Street Church. And for first time visitors, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, this is an update. I did a video on a pastor out of Carolina named Pastor David Keandre Dixon. I'm going to say former pastor now. He is a former pastor. He is not a pastor now. The church that he was um, pastoring at fired him, let him go. Now, they let him go on his first 5 charges of sexual abuse. He had 5 charges. What I did not know is, as well as him being a pastor for that church, he was also a substitute teacher in another county. And now it is told that he has 14 new charges of sexual misconduct against a minor. So we can safely probably say now that he's a pervert, pedophile, molester, and former pastor, thank God, of the church he was pastoring at. And you know what? This is why I say, you know what? Pastoral, like the license to be a pastor, ordained pastor, it should be as serious as the legal bar to be a lawyer. I think you should be able to be dispastored, right? Dispastored, like being disbarred, right? With this type of behavior. If you conduct yourself this way, man, it should be a board that you should have to be passed, with some accountability and some responsibility, right? To hold your theology accountable and your what you say, think, and do behind that pulpit. It should be like lawyers that have to pass the bar. You should have to pass the pastoralship, right? And you could be dispastored, like you could be disbarred like a lawyer. That's what it should be. Because you are the legal law of Christ, right? And you hold the theology that argues the case for Christ, right? And our existence as Christians, followers of Christ. So you should be held to a higher standard. And that whole thing, you could go online and get certified to marry, right, and bury online. That's ridiculous. Just like any old thing, right? No kind of vetting being done. Anybody can do it. They just make fun and mockery of celebrities going to be ordained so they can marry their friends, their celebrity friends, or regular people doing it, right? Just go online and now I'm ordained, and I know it don't count for nothing in God's eyes, right? In the sight of God, if it's done like that, pretentiously, I know that God is not trying to honor that. I know God does not honor that. Let me just say that, right? But it's still a shame that the willingness, the um the qualifications, right? The criteria, the things that you should be doing, right, to ordain somebody as a pastor is not as serious as being a lawyer or a doctor, right? It should be held with that kind of high esteem, and it should be held with that kind of serious vetting, right? That you're not just letting anybody just become a pastor. A person can say that they're a pastor and be a pastor and start pastoring a church, and I don't think that that's good, right? You got people's lives in your hands, and I know God will hold everybody who's accountable. what a man sows, he shall reap, and this is what he's reaping, what he sowed, and that the wages of sin is death, right? But still, though, we as human beings should just look at, just from our understanding of how we should be responsible and accountable to carry forth the word of God, right? To preach the word of God to people. We should care enough as followers of Christ to make this more serious, right? And harder for you to do that, to become a pastor, right? So anyway, and it's just like even law enforcement, they put you through training, and it's all from the same agency and organization, right? They've got to put the denominations away and just have a one university. You know what I'm saying? Where the basic fundamental beliefs get taught and get told to be preached, and if you breach that, if you any malpractice on your part of that, you get this pastor, like you get disbarred. Period. I think that should be something that they should look into. Anyway, yes. Former pastor David Keandre Dixon is being charged with 14 new charges of sexual misconduct against minors. Minors, plural. 14 charges, plural. And in my first video, I kind of figured that he was guilty, right? And it's still all allegedly, because he still hasn't been to trial. He still hasn't been convicted. But 14 new charges, you went from 5, right? And then let me tell you something else. If this turns out to be true on the part of this pastor, then we got to look at it like he willfully set himself in the positions as a pastor and as a substitute teacher, most likely so that he could be grooming, that he could be what he's being charged of, right? And that's a pedophile and a molester and a groomer, right? For child sexual abuse. Period. In 2 different counties. You went from 5 charges in the county where you pastored at, and you went to 14 new charges where you taught at and was a substitute teacher at. Right? Ain't counties where he lived at probably, right? But the counties where he worked at. Served as a pastor and worked as a substitute teacher. So now look, come on. Yeah, he was grooming. He put himself in those positions so that he could do that. Without question. Without question. And it's sad. It is sad. And it's sad because we're starting to see this all over the United States and probably across the world going on. And here's the sad thing, right? Here, you want to know what makes this the saddest of all? This is constantly going on in the 2 institutions that are supposed to be educating our children, our teenagers, our young adults, right? Public schools, elementary, middle schools, high schools, and in college, right? And in churches, right? The 2 places where you're supposed to be educated, right? and like for the church, we're supposed to be educated on the moral compass that we should take, right? The right direction. We should be led morally in the right direction, right? And then with schools, right? We should be led in um like the social and economical education, right? To not cheat, to not be infidels, right? Infidelity, caught up in sexual immorality. The two places that's supposed to teach us the right way to go in the world, economically and socially and spiritually, right? Our core, where we need our kids, where where our kids need to be educated the most, right? And you would think they would be led down the most. These are the two institutions that's been leading them down the wrong path and doing the wrong things to them to disrupt those stages that they need to go through to get it right. You see what I'm saying? To be educated socially, economically, and spiritually. They've been doing most of the damage or a lot of the damage to our children. They've been stunting the economical, social, and spiritual growth of our children all this time. And that's what's really sad and really disheartening and really wicked and evil on their parts. That they're the ones doing the harm to our kids' social, economical, and spiritual lives. And it's terrible. It's terrible. We're looking at the the Catholic Church having so many incidents of sexual misconduct against minors, right? Um, and here's the thing about it too. The thing that should not be condoned the most is what they're a part of, which is homosexuality when it comes to sexual immorality, right? It's been a lot of homosexuality going on within the churches. And other denominations too are guilty of it. And another thing they're allowing, right, if they're not a part of doing it to the kids, these institutions are a part of letting other people allowing it. Look what they're doing now. They're letting Satanists open up clubs in public schools called the Satanic Temple After School Satan Club. They're doing it again, exposing it to drag events, right? From drag queen events, right? Exposing them to sexual immorality that way. Just all kinds of pronouns, non-binary. They're either doing it to us or they doing it to us when it comes to our kids, or they exposing our children to this type of thinking, saying, and doing always. They're doing the harm. Churches and educational institutions is doing a lot of damage. I would say it's besides gang violence, right? Besides gang violence and or just sex and drugs and violence on the streets, besides that, street life, I would say the educational institutions and the church institutions here in America and probably in the world, throughout the world, are doing more damage than gang violence, sex, drugs, and violence is doing on the streets, like street life, right? In your communities, throughout the communities. I think the school systems and churches are doing more damage than the streets. This is street church. I'm just gonna lay it all out. You know, um, I don't even think this. Listen, all my videos that I made ever since I did a video on YouTube giving me a warning. It wasn't a strike. It was a warning because I did a video on Joe Biden signing the Inflation Reduction Act. And I did that one video, and they gave me a warning and took the video down. Then I did one video saying that I had received a warning. Again, it wasn't aggressive. It was me venting, but it wasn't in an aggressive way. There was no vulgar language, so they couldn't take it down. But what they've decided to do is demonetize me. Every video since that incident is demonetized. Not one video I've done recently has been monetized. Only the old ones before the warning. But like I said, I hope that this channel grows into something financially successful. I hope that I'm successful at doing this, right? That's my hope. If it turns out though that hey, they just continue to demonetize me and they thwart my efforts, it ain't me first of all anyway that's thwarting my efforts, right? It's them, right? And so that in itself is a success because it means that I was right about starting to do these videos in the first place because that was my motive. That was my reason. I would always rant, but I would never video, right? I would always express my feelings to people, and I felt like, well, I have something to say, right? And I have a view on it, right? And I have an angle on it that somebody else might not have an angle on it. And so I started to do these videos. And you know what? I'm still happy doing these videos, even though they're not monetized because it doesn't take me anything to do a video. So I'm not going to be, like acting like, oh my gosh, they're destroying. And no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put some things in place, though, that I can still, see that this thing is financially stable and can stand on its own 2 feet, right? I want this channel to be able to stand. I want it here when nobody else is here. Everything done fell to the wayside so that you can see and say, you know what? I thought he was talking off. I thought he was off. But he wasn't. He was on. He was right on point. And that's the whole point. Because I know when God is working with me. I know when I'm in the will of God. And I know when I'm out of the will of God and I'm working in the flesh. And I know that I'm not working in the flesh on this particular journey, I'll call it. This particular journey, this particular thing that's going on. Because why are you controlling the ads? What if the people are asking, the advertisers? What, you control the advertisers? What, y'all that made an agreement that if I'm not speaking the world's language of late, right, that you're just going to say you're going to demonetize me, right? That's fair. You want me to go by, now I'm talking to YouTube right now. You want me to go by some community guidelines, right? Obey your terms and conditions. But you don't want to obey your own terms. You want to create conditions for me where I'm not going to be financially successful. But you want to create conditions for other people who you like and are okay with and are in bed with and in partnership with. You want to make the conditions for them to make money and be successful at the expense of harming me. But I'm supposed to be in your community going by your guidelines. So after I've done everything to go by your guidelines, you honor that by demonetizing me. You haven't taken the videos down. You haven't given me a strike for it. But there's no green monetization signs. They're just all black with a slash through them. Every single video that I produce now never gets monetized. So you're in charge of the advertisers, huh? The advertisers done gave you enough control to where you can say what goes. I thought that was supposed to be organic. That they would see the videos, you know what I'm saying, whatever department they have that monetizes their algorithms would see that, hey, this would be good for me to put ads on. They saw that the other videos were good until we had our little discrepancy between you and I, YouTube. And then all of a sudden, now my stuff is not advertisable, right? Like you can't put no ads on none of my videos since then. Okay. Yeah, this is street church. I just lay it all out. Because y'all can give me all the strikes that you need to give me too. If you wanted to do that, it's still not gonna stop me. This is what the internet is. It's, it might, be less people for a while, but eventually something is gonna give. And I think the dam is ready to break sooner than later. But I ain't gonna say nothing on it right now. Because there's still people probably making steps and moves to see that dam break. And if I was you, YouTube, I would go back to being neutral and get and stop getting in the bed with people that disagree with people and want you to do harm to them, because it might not go good for you when it's all said and done. It might not go like you think. It's going good now, but it might not always go like you think. So I'm just warning you, YouTube, don't do it, man. You'll end up like MySpace. And you see how they ended up. Yeah. And those people they got in the bed with moved on. They wasn't there to support them, help them advance, help them turn that around or nothing. They just collapsed. Now, I know it was some other reasons that you're probably quite aware of why MySpace fell, but for the most part, it was just they started to act a certain way, and it didn't turn out the way they thought it was going to turn out. So, anyway, like I'm nobody. This is Street Church Network, smallest channel on YouTube probably, and I'm nobody. I'm nothing. And I know big old YouTube, y'all just so big, I'm nothing. But I'm telling you, it's not going to go how you think. And them people that you are in bed with and partnering with and doing ventures with and sitting at the table with, they're going to be the first people that turn on you and jump ship when it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go. Because there's people who have money, have resources, have influence. They're tired of you doing that. They're tired of you controlling, suppressing something you shouldn't be suppressing. Like this is supposed to be free for all and freedom of speech, and for people to be able to say and do what they're gonna do. As long as it's not harmful towards people, it's no threatening behavior or anything like that, you should not. And then you're suppressing stuff under the guise of it being misinformation or violating the community guidelines. So you say, but those guidelines are so vague, and you could say anything was misinformation or vulgar or anything. And anytime you decide to, here's the scary part about you, YouTube. Anytime you decide that you want to make something, take somebody's language, right, what they say on the YouTube videos, and say that this is against your guidelines, you can do it. And that's what you're really doing already right now. You're just not really out bold with it. You're not out in the open yet. You're still trying to be slick and sneaky with it. And But yeah, it's not going to go good for you if you don't turn that around. You better turn that behavior around. Those tactics that you're using to suppress people not going to go well. Trust me, it's not going to go well. God doesn't reward evil with good. Um, so anyway, listen, I am going to let the congregation out. Listen, remember, y'all can keep your eyes on it. If you're interested in the article and the situation going on with former pastor David Keandre Dixon, I think it's a wrap for him. I think that he will get uh, probably charged on all 19 counts and do a long time in prison. And if the allegations turn out to be true and he's convicted, then he should serve a very long time in prison for what he's done. That being said, I'm going to let the congregation out. Y'all be blessed. God bless.